If you watch tutorials, take notes, highlight ideas, and still cannot use the skill later, you are not slow. You are probably learning in the wrong order. Most people start with content. They search for the best course, the best book, the best app, or the perfect video. But fast learners start with output. Watching someone else do a skill can feel productive, but feeling familiar is not the same as being able to perform. In this video, we will follow Leo, a beginner learning video editing in 30 days. But the same system works for coding, languages, writing, design, school subjects, and work skills. The system has 6 stages. Pick the output before the content, break the skill into parts, learn just enough to try, practice without looking, get feedback before repeating, and space the reps until the skill transfers. The old loop looks like this: tutorial, notes, familiarity, forgetting. You feel like you studied, but when it is time to perform, the skill is not there. The better loop looks different: output, subskill, attempt, feedback, spacing, transfer. It is less comfortable at first, but it turns information into ability. This is why the order matters. If you begin with too much content, every new idea competes for attention. But if you begin with an output, each lesson has a job. You know why you are learning it. Stage 1 is picking the output before the content. Before choosing a course or tutorial, decide what you should be able to make, solve, explain, write, edit, or perform. Leo does not start with the question, which editing tutorial should I watch? He starts with a visible target. Edit a 3-minute educational video with clean cuts, readable captions, clear audio, and a simple intro. The target does not have to be impressive. It only has to be concrete. A weak target is learn editing. A stronger target is cut one rough clip, add readable captions, fix the audio, and export it. The beginner mistake is thinking that more content automatically creates more skill. Content helps, but only when it is connected to a real output. This stage matters because a clear output gives your brain a scoreboard. Without one, every tip feels important, and you cannot tell whether you are actually improving. Once the output is clear, the next question is simple: what smaller skills does that output require? Stage 2 is breaking the skill into parts. A skill feels impossible when it is one giant word. It becomes trainable when you split it into smaller abilities. For video editing, Leo's map includes importing footage, cutting silence, arranging clips, adding captions, balancing audio, choosing music, exporting the file, and checking the result on a phone. Once the parts are visible, Leo can stop blaming the whole skill. Maybe editing is not the problem. Maybe audio is the problem. Maybe captions are the problem. A skill map turns frustration into a smaller target. Many beginners think experts are simply talented, but experts usually have many small parts working together. Mapping the parts helps you find the weakest link. This stage matters because you cannot improve a blur. When the skill is mapped, you can choose one part to practice instead of trying to improve everything at once. But once you can see the parts, do not wait until you understand everything. The fastest move is to learn just enough to try. Stage 3 is learning just enough to try. This does not mean learning carelessly. It means using information as fuel for action instead of treating information as the final product. Leo watches one short lesson on basic cuts, then immediately edits a rough 30-second clip. The first messy attempt shows him what he actually needs next. The trap is tutorial comfort. Watching someone else perform a skill feels safe because there is no failure. But the skill grows when you try and notice the gap. This stage matters because learning becomes faster when input and output stay close together. If you wait too long to practice, the information stays abstract. This also protects you from endless preparation. Preparation feels responsible, but if it never touches an attempt, it becomes delay. The goal is not to feel ready. The goal is to create the next useful attempt. After the first attempt, the next stage is where learning becomes less passive and more measurable. Stage 4 is practicing without looking. This means trying to produce the skill from memory before checking the answer. It forces your brain to retrieve, choose, and correct. Instead of replaying the same tutorial, Leo closes it and edits a clip from memory. Then he checks what he forgot, what took too long, and what still looks rough. At first, this feels slower than watching. That is normal. Watching is smooth because someone else is making the decisions. Practicing without looking is harder because you are finally making the decisions yourself. Many people confuse recognition with mastery. If something looks familiar while you are watching, that does not prove you can do it alone. This stage matters because the point is not only to put information in. The point is to pull knowledge out, test it, correct it, and make it usable. But practice by itself can still be dangerous. If you repeat the wrong thing, you can get faster at being wrong. That is why feedback comes next. Stage 5 is getting feedback before repeating. Feedback tells you what to keep, what to change, and what to practice next. Leo reviews his edited clip on a phone. He checks whether the cuts feel slow, whether captions are readable, whether the audio is clear, and whether the first 10 seconds make sense. The phone check matters because real output lives in the real world. A video can look fine while editing, but feel slow on a phone. A paragraph can look clear to you, but confuse a reader. Beginners often wait for perfect feedback from an expert. Expert feedback is valuable, but simple feedback still helps. Compare your result to a good example, use a checklist, or show one viewer. This stage matters because feedback turns mistakes into instructions. A mistake is not just proof that you failed. It is data for the next practice session. Once feedback points to the next weakness, the final stage is spacing. You need to return at the right times so the skill does not disappear. Stage 6 is spacing the reps until the skill transfers. Cramming can create short-term confidence, but spaced practice helps the skill return when you need it later. Leo does not edit for 5 hours once and disappear. He edits a small clip on Monday, fixes captions on Wednesday, practices audio on Friday, and makes a full short video on Sunday. Spacing also shows what is real. If you can only do the skill right after watching a lesson, the skill still depends on the lesson. When you return later and can still perform, the skill is becoming yours. The mistake is expecting real learning to feel smooth. Good practice often feels a little difficult because you are retrieving, comparing, and correcting. This stage matters because the goal is not to perform once while the lesson is fresh. The goal is to use the skill later, in a new situation, with less help. Now the system is complete. The fastest learners are not always the people with the most motivation. They are often the people with the clearest loop. Here is the full system. Pick the output before the content. Break the skill into parts. Learn just enough to try. Practice without looking. Get feedback before repeating. Space the reps until the skill transfers. The point is not to become a perfect learner overnight. The point is to stop using a random order. When the order improves, even ordinary practice becomes more useful, more measurable, and easier to repeat. If you want to try this today, choose one skill and one small output. Not a perfect plan, not a life transformation. One output you can attempt this week. If this roadmap helped, subscribe. This channel turns complex skills into simple systems, so you can stop collecting random advice and start building real progress. You do not need to become a perfect learner. You need a better loop. Once the loop is clear, learning stops feeling like guessing and starts feeling like progress.